So today we're going to talk about evil and how it behaves and what it really is, because I think a lot of people are stuck in believing it is attached to one phase. So my name is Jaye Anne. I'm an energy healer and an intuitive. I read energies for a living, and I help people optimize their own energies so that they can live fully in their divine alignment, and so they can feel like themselves all the time, feel like they're doing the things that they want to do. And one of the things that is preventing a lot of people from feeling like they can be themselves right now is fear. Okay. And so I wanted to talk today about how fear plays into the hands of what we think is, quote, evil, and what is going on in current society. Okay. I'm recording this in February of 2025. There's a lot of people who are very stuck in fear, very afraid, and for good reason, right? They may have situations going on where they do feel like they're under personal attack. Then we have another set of people who are not directly impacted by what's going on, and they're also feeling very afraid, but they're not really sure what to do with this fear. Okay, so if you're in the first group, what I have to say may not resonate, but if you're in the second group, it may be a little bit too on the head, right? But overall, this video will benefit everybody because we're going to learn the true mechanisms of like actual evil. Okay, so evil is faceless. It does not have a political affiliation. It does not have a religious affiliation. It does not have a country affiliation. What evil really is basically a societal parasite, okay? It functions off of the life force of human beings. Now, human beings are special and we have extra consciousness compared to other things like awareness, conscious awareness of our existence and conscious awareness of the environment we are in, right? We're a certain kind of special. Of course, other animals and beings and non-embodied beings are really powerful too. But human beings have like a special type of juice. We'll just call it that, okay? And it attracts the parasite of evil. Okay. The only way that evil can get in is through cracks and through belief systems. It's sort of like how do I say this? When someone, like a straw, right? Like if you think about mosquitoes, it has like the proboscis, right? That thing coming out of its nose, and it's puncturing your skin ever so small, and it's sucking off your blood, right? Your life force is very connected to blood. And that's what evil does. But it can only come in through our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities. Now, if let's say there's somebody who is cut, right? Lots and lots of great things are going to come and like go, oh, I want all that blood that might be coming out, right? So it's similar in that way. So, but we don't see it with our own three-dimensional eyes. So what we're experiencing is like, doesn't make sense to our three-dimensional eyes or three-dimensional brain. And the work that I do, I can see those things, right? I can see what's energetically a cut, what's energetically a fractionation of, it looks like glass is shattering or like hasn't quite shattered, but it's fractionated. Okay. These are weak points that we are not protecting our energy. We're not protecting our vital life force. And these are really, really important places where that parasite can come in and steal from us. Okay. So for anyone who is dealing with some version of I'm not good enough, that is like the top bread and butter of this type of parasite. And it's everywhere, right? Everybody deals with it. But these kinds of things, it comes through these spaces and places of where we are disconnected from our energetic truth. So this parasite that lives off human life force, it's pretty smart. Okay. It's not like just dumb. It's not just going to, because the key to the parasite is this. It has to take as much life force as possible without killing the host, right? Like that's true for any parasite. And so for this particular one, it's going to continuously fractionate or create opportunities for fractioning so that it can create more opportunities for sucking off life force. Okay. Now, what's happening right now is there are more people than ever on the planet, right? So yay for the parasite, but there are also more conscious people than ever. When you start to become aware of your own, like it's another level of awareness. And so we're becoming more conscious. We're becoming more aware of what's going on in the world around us. We're becoming more discerning about things we put in our bodies. We're becoming more discerning about like what is true for me may not be true for someone else, right? So these kind of like things to wrestle with is part of becoming conscious, or like what they call enlightenment. And that fights the parasite. Our collective awareness, our collective enlightenment fights the parasite, because the parasite cannot survive in light. Evil and darkness are not the same thing, but evil can only live inside of darkness. It can't live in pure, true light, right? Just like the sunlight itself, I don't know if you know this, but the sunlight itself is a super powerful antimicrobial, right? Fungus and a lot of bacteria just die in exposure to sunlight. And that's the same thing here. So it's not that the darkness is bad, it's that the parasite can only live in the darkness. Here's the thing. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, love and light, love and light, love and light. I want to be in the love and light only. Okay. And we see this also in like Christian traditions. Like, I only want to walk in the light, like walk with the light to my feet, all those kinds of like metaphors with light. Some of that is actually quite literal. So just be aware that when we invite divine light in, we are literally like inviting divine, even if we don't see it with our three-dimensional eyes. Because remember, there is way more to the universe than we are consciously aware of. We know that because we can only see the visible light spectrum, and we know there are greater frequencies on either side that we literally cannot see. Anyhow, that's that. What I want you to understand is that when we walk only in the light, we have now created a boundary of where we're going to believe exists. And the shadow part of us, there's a part of us that is like in the dark. There's a part of us that is like, we don't think about that. We don't talk about that. We don't look at that. There's a part of us that is just like literally like, nope, that part of me doesn't exist. That's the bad part of me. That's the bad version of me. So we call that the shadow. In the energy world, we call it the shadow. We shove it in the shadow. And these are all the things about us that we are most of it is actually really great stuff about us, but it's because it's so vulnerable and we maybe had a bad experience in the past with actually using that part of us, that we were like, oh no, that part of me is bad and I should never touch it. And so we shove that parts of us in the shadow. But if we are walking around going love and light, love and light, love and light, and we never ever experience our shadow parts, we're actually missing a huge piece of ourselves, a huge piece that is like really important and really powerful. Guess what? The parasite can only work in the dark. So if you have all these parts of yourself that are shoved in your shadow, then you're going to have opportunity for this parasite to come and say, hey, I'm going to hook in here. I'm going to hook in there. And I'm going to start siphoning off your life force energy. The act itself of shoving powerful parts of us in the shadow is exhausting in itself. But then if you pair in these hooks in to siphoning off your life force, then you end up really tired, really, really tired. Okay. So the goal when we go look at the shadow is not to go be in the shadow and like be like, oh, I'm so sad, it's terrible and everything is bad. It's also to shed light on parts of ourselves that we have been ignoring for a really, really long time. And this is all super relevant because the more that collectively, if like 20, 30, 40 people just went and looked at their shadow, we would be fighting the parasite off, and it will start to be fought off, or it'll bring more resources to these other things that we're doing these things. And it's like, oh, it'll be like, oh no, I'm going to fight you some more. I'm going to fight you some more. I'm going to fight you some more. But it can't get in without your permission. That's another key piece. It cannot get in without your permission. There is tacit consent that happens when you ignore those parts of you. So when you start to uncover those parts of you that you've been ignoring for a really long time, then you start to shed light into those spaces and places. And it's like, I'm being burned off. No. So the more that we do shadow work, the more we're weakening the collective parasitic reaction. Okay. So that's one really, really important thing, like super important. The most important thing that you can do on a collective level, like if you have no power, if you have no capability to be like, oh, I'm going to go Like you can go protest, you can go do stuff, all kinds of stuff. But if you actually have no power to control what's going on in the things that you are deeply afraid of, the best thing you can do next is to shed light onto your own shadow and start to figure out who you really are. Because it may even come out that I actually have a lot of power over this thing, but I didn't know that I had that power because I believed that this part of me was bad, wrong, and evil and stupid, right? So when we start to bring up those shadow things, we start to gain new capabilities. We start to gain new awareness. We start to gain like powerful stuff about us. One of the most common things, and this, because you're probably like, oh, that sounds like really ethereal. And the most powerful things that we start to gain, this like huge example for a lot of people, is we often do not speak our truth. And when I say speak your truth, I do not mean go and criticize people and tell them they're stupid. That is never speaking your truth. That is criticizing people and telling them they're stupid. Your truth is about you. And a lot of times people originally like, oh, when they start to wake up their voice, they go, oh, I need to speak my truth. You're stupid. But it's because they're pushing down all of the words that they've been wanting to say for years and years and years. And it just comes out as just mean because it's just like gunk stuck up. But this is the most common thing, is people not being able to speak the honest truth about what's going on with them. And when I speak my truth, it inspires others to speak their truths. Okay. And that alone inspires others to wake up their own throat. So the biggest thing that a lot of people have is like, oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. And when we shove that down into our shadow, then we are literally giving opportunity to this parasitic thing to say, oh, I'm going to, you can take my voice. So what we are doing here is we're bringing back all of this stuff out of our shadow, bringing light to it, and then reintegrating who we really are at the core, so that we can then, if you are able to speak your truth and you're able to say something in a really powerful way, you can change things. But if you're ignoring your voice, then you can't change things. Or if you're saying stuff in a really mean way because you're afraid to say it in the true way, once again, you're ignoring your voice. You're not speaking your truth. You're speaking criticisms. And that is a protection mechanism instead of actual telling the truth. I'm going to protect myself from being hurt because this part of me that needs to be speaking from where I need to be speaking from, I don't believe it should exist. And so when we bring that back up into ourselves and integrate it, and then we start to let ourselves like speak real truth, then we are actually healing the world. Okay. But if you don't heal yourself, you don't work on your own stuff first, then you're not going to be able to help anybody. You're literally going to be walking around like a disembodied head going, meh. But you can't, you're going to feel like, I don't have any power. I don't have any traction, and I don't have any ability to control any of this. And all you need to do is start to look at parts of yourself that you thought were really bad or wrong or gross, or that other people wouldn't like. Okay. That's what shadow work is all about. And every ounce of shadow work that you do fights evil. That is just how it works. Okay. So evil behaves like a parasite. It is a nameless, faceless being that lives in the dark. The dark is not bad, but it cannot live in the light. So it's our job to go into the dark and shed light on things so that it's cleansed. It siphons off our life force. So once again, the more that you heal, the more that you have powerful boundaries, the more that you're actually fighting this. Even if you're doing stuff that feels like you're being mean to somebody, or they're taking it as being mean. It's not about being mean. It's about finding your own authentic line, your own authentic boundary of your own space, energetically and physically. So I'm going to make more videos on this, but what I want you to do anytime you are feeling annoyed or frustrated about the world and you're just like, I don't know what to do about this, the first thing your mind needs to go to is journaling and writing down the things, the parts of you that are like triggered by this and where that came from and what experiences did you have doing like to create this trigger within yourself. Is this something that is authentically you, or is this something that you have conditioned yourself into? And where is the real you if that's true? Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.